So in today's video I was going to be building the B16 to put into the Civic and put the front suspension on, do all that kind of stuff, but I ran into a bit of an issue. The rods I bought for this car, I bought them quite a while ago, and the listing said B series, but occurred to me as I was building the block that B16 rods are different than B18 rods, and I have the wrong rods and the pistons were sitting too high. So if anyone needs B18 scat forged rods, they're brand new, never been used, hit me up and I'll sell them to you pretty cheap. But yeah, I need to order new rods for the B16, and I just had some other changes that I just recently decided to do. So I needed to make a wiring harness system to run the headlights, turn signals, fuel pump, rad fan, and basically all the basic wiring that a vehicle needs. And I was going to do that with relays and stuff, but I've been seeing more recently that race car stuff now is all solid state electronics, and it's a lot easier once it's working properly, and there's no relays to replace or anything like that. It's just one little box that controls everything. So I'm in the middle of making that system for this car. It uses an Arduino system, Arduino little controller to turn on MOSFETs, and they will run the vehicle for the just everything I just listed, like rad fan, fuel pump, ignition for the engine, and everything like that will just run off one little box. So I'm in the middle of making that, and I'll show some videos on that once I get a little bit farther. But for the next video or two, and maybe more, I'll see how many videos I make on this car. I got a couple things I need to do, but I'm going to be getting into building my RB20 and getting this car back on the road. For this car to drive, it literally just needs the engine rebuilt and it can drive again. But I'm going to be doing a hydro e-brake install on this and a couple other things. I want to build some crash bars, and I'm going to be resetting up how the radiator sits in the front. So stay tuned for those videos. And this is the engine I'm going to be rebuilding for it. I spun the rod in this motor. It's a RB20 inline 6 engine from Nissan. They came out of the Skyline, the R32 GTST, and they're a good engine. They like to be revved, and they produce some good horsepower and torque numbers, and they're relatively inexpensive to rebuild the RB20. Just got to do a couple little simple mods to get the oil out of the head better. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next little bit, but I'll put in some clips of me putting together some parts on the 1980 Civic, and let's get into the video. So another thing I've been doing is learning how to make turbo collectors. When I built my first manifold, I bought the collector offline, but it was pretty expensive, and I wanted to learn how to make my own to keep costs down, and it's just a cool thing to learn how to make. So I made these jigs to cut the angles on this thing, and there's actually, for the T3 flange, it took me some trial and error to figure this out. So this angle here is different than the angle that this side is cut at, and it's kind of a bad explanation, but like in this piece here, basically the angle I cut this side is different than I cut this side. This is not the correct piece, but that's how I actually got this to work properly. So these two jigs both sit at different angles. This one here sits at 16 degrees, and this one sits at 13 degrees. And so I do all my cuts on this one first, and then I do my other cuts on this one. And I just use this little bandsaw thing here. So this was my finished one that I'm gonna make out of stainless now. And when I grab the flange and put it on top, you can see it's almost perfect. Let me line it up there. There we go. So just the very points, stick in a very, very, very small amount. You can see that there. Oh, there's not a lot of light on it, but which is perfect, because then I can weld it and then take the Dremel tool and just lightly touch these up on the inside, make it so it doesn't poke at all, and then I'll weld the inside of the collector. I'm getting bad light on that, but anyways, and then take the Dremel and just clean up the inside of the collector, and there you go. You can see there's a little gap in the center there. I just cut the angle a little bit off on these two pieces, so the inside was a little bit beveled in, but you know, it was definitely a learning process. I've made a few of these full collectors, and it took me a long time just to kind of get the things right about just trial and error. And this is the first jig I made. It was too thin a material, and it was flexing way too much, so it was getting inaccurate cuts. So it's definitely a learning process, but that's what I've been working on. So I'll make a video pretty soon about how to make turbo collectors and how to build manifolds. And stay tuned for the RB builds. And thanks for watching. Subscribe and drop a thumbs up.